Om Namo Narayana. So, okay, let us look at this contemplation for Shloka 36, which was a question asked by Arjuna to the Lord. The shloka was Atakena prayuktoyam papan charati purushaha anichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha. By what force? What is this force which is pushing me to do evil deeds? So that was the question. And so the contemplation here we have. So, I mean, basically, Arjuna's question was based on asking the Lord to tell him, why does one commit sin? Why does one commit evil? So contemplation, do I understand this force that impels me to act against my good intentions? So, so in all of us, there is this force, which comes across it. So generally what happens when we think of it as just a force, sometimes, people have this thing. There is also shlokas which says, the action was done by karma, that action was done by anger. I didn't do it. So that is okay. But, at the same time, we are the one who allow that force to take shape. So we give permission for that. We allow that force to work through us. So the forces are all working. Good forces are also working. But we allow this force of nature, this vasanas, which is in us, to take action. And that puts us into suffering. Do I understand the tendency at its dormant state and manifested state? So these are the different states. So initially it is hidden, but we know we get some insight here and there when we are. So this is why, we do sadhana and all that. So we can uncover that hidden force within us, that force which impels us to commit sin, to do wrong actions, to get us stuck in addictions, habits which are not helpful for our progress. Am I aware of its components of mental restraint and senses restraint? So these are the two things which we generally call as shama and dama. So ideally, we have mental restraint. We are able to mentally say no. Sometimes, they say that if you want to say no to somebody and you're not sure, you should say no in a double force. Why? Because the first no is for the other person and the second no is for yourself, because you're not sure, right? You are trying to emphasize it. So that mental restraint and the senses restraint. If you're not sure, then we should keep away from those objects, those things which are not conducive for us. Which of these two is dominant in which situations? This we have to analyze. And so today, actually, we'll be talking a little bit about this. How these things take shape, and which one becomes more dominant? In what kind of situation do they get triggered? Am I able to restrain the force of temptations at senses level? Am I able to restrain it at thought level? So these are the two kind of restraints, that every sadhaka has to work at. The first restraint is at the thought level, if we can, before that temptation comes, before that something in our mind tells us. Before that, if we can catch it, then we are greater chance of success, because once it takes shape, meaning once it's manifested, you are already kind of moving towards that object, or that object is coming towards you. Then the restraint is you only have to walk away from that. That is the only other thing at that time. So this is the shloka 36. So we will again later look at this, because it is based on this question that the last part of the teachings in this chapter is coming. Okay, so this is Karma Yoga. The chapter we are looking at is Karma Yoga. But now we might be wondering, if the Lord is talking about Karma Yoga, why is he now talking about knowledge about sense restraint, and why is this thing of vasanas and all that coming. So we will see the connection here. What is the relation between vasanas and knowledge? And what is the relation between vasanas and the ability to do karma yoga? So this we will see in the coming shlokas now. But just briefly, like as now, where we are coming from is the Lord is now, talking about. He gave the teachings on the consequence of following and ignoring karma yoga. What happens if you don't follow, and what happens if you do follow, and why you should follow your swadharma. So, Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha, Paradharmat Swanushtitat. So, this was an important shloka, and there are some points and questions. We will look at that later. But so basically, the ability to do Swadharma and is a way of purifying that vasanas. So once the vasanas are purified, then we will carry out our duties, and the vasanas will get purified, and our nature of swadharma will then change, because it will become more subtle, more purified, the vasanas, and we can move on in that path of knowledge or gaining the reality. But now Arjuna's question takes us backwards. What is Arjuna is asking is, where did this vasanas come in the first place? Why has this vasanas come? And why is this causing this thing for us? Why is this vasanas causing the kind of, what do you call, like instability for me? So I told you, last time this teaching also, Duryodhana was also asked, he was told, you are, why don't you follow dharma? Why are you doing all this adharma? That Mahabharata story, he refused to give even 5 villages, to the Pandavas. So somebody came and asked him, why are you doing some such things like that? So he said that, janami dharmam nachame pravritti, janami adharmam nachame nivritti. I know what is dharma, but I don't feel like doing it. I know what is adharma, and I don't feel like restraining myself from that. Kenepi devena hridistitena yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi. As it propels me to do, as I will do. Kenepi devena, some deity, some force is sitting within me. So it's a similar thing he is saying, as Arjuna is saying, which force is this? So there's some force that is pushing me to do these bad things. So in a real sense, it is true. Prakriti, this especially this Rajo and Tamo guna, are the reason why we are actually compelled to do this negative things. But yet, what happens is that when we say it is this force that is doing it, we are actually sometimes not taking responsibility for it. We say that some force is doing it, it is not me. But on the other hand, when something good happens, we say, I did it. So this is a human tendency, right? So, so there also that force should be doing it, right? So here is where, it is true that there are good forces and there are bad forces which are making us do it. Prakrite kriyamanani, gune karmani sarvashaha, it was said. The gunas are all the ones who are doing it. So Ahankara cannot claim that I did good or I did bad in reality. Yet there is a point here, and that point is based on gunas. So the Lord is now going to talk about gunas. Why is it that the gunas and your association with the gunas? You have a choice whether you associate with the tamo guna, rajo guna, or sattva guna. So this association, this is the choice every sadhaka has, So this is what I was saying, the general tendency for people is they will follow the way of samsara. Yesterday, I was giving a talk at a place here, and I was mentioning that. The samsara is actually like a what when we work with samsara, it is like a default mode, like a sometimes you get your phone, it has a default ringtone, it has some default settings, and then you realize that is not what is conducive, you change some of that, right? So we come into samsara means we already come with our preset vasanas. So there are already that certain force which we have acquired from previous lives or conditioning or samskaras, and we operate based on that. So that is the default mode of samsara. And there, we are just flowing with that. But when we come to sadhana, sadhana is different from samsara because in sadhana we operate by choice. We make a choice. And what is the choice? We constantly take up sankalpas, new resolutions. So today, actually, I wanted to focus on that because generally, when we come to New Year and all that, we want to look at taking a fresh, look at life afresh. So this aspect is very important. How we go about creating life circumstances, how we go about choosing the path of sadhana and not the path of samsara. So this is a very key point, and these shlokas are very much in line with that. So we will kind of look at that. So the point here is that that force that is operating with us is enabled by our cooperation. So the force is there. True, it is the force which is doing it. You are not doing it. But if you don't recognize the birth of that force, how it sustains and how it manifests, then what happens is you are flowing with that river. But if you recognize it, if you recognize that this temptation has come, this pattern has come, this habit has come, and then that I will not follow this force, I choose to recognize it and I choose to step back. Then what happens? You are stepping out of that gunas. So this is where that Sankhya thing, the Prakriti is functioning at its own levels. And when the Purusha realizes and sees the Prakriti realizes, oh, I have been seen. This is all said in the Sankhya, how the Prakriti stops functioning for the Purusha is the Prakriti realizes, oh, I have been seen by the Purusha, meaning my nature has been seen. So then the Purusha becomes independent of the Prakriti. He becomes free from the force of the Prakriti. So this is how the nature is functioning. And today, the shlokas are conducive for that. Let us look at let us chant the shlokas first, and I will then go through the. Okay, so we can start with the shloka again, shloka 36 itself. Okay. Yeah, you can repeat after me. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna
उवाच
Ata kena prayuktoyam
अथ
केन
केन
प्रयुक्तोऽयम्
प्रयुक्तोऽयम्
papancharati purushaha
पापं
पापं
चरति
चरति
पूरुषः
पुरुषः
anichannapi vashneya
अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय
baladiva niyojitaha
बलादिव
बलादिव
नियोजितः
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Kama esha krodha esha
काम
काम
एष
एष
क्रोध एष
rajo guna samudbhavaha
रजोगुणसमुद्भवः
mahashano mahapapma
महाशनो
महाशनो
महापाप्मा
महापाप्मा
vidyena vairinam
विद्येनमिह वैरिणम्
धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर्
धूमेनाव्रियते
वह्निः
यथादर्शो मलेन च
यथादर्शो मलेन च
यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्
यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्
तथा तेनेदमावृतम्
तथा
तथातेनेदमावृतम्
आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन
आवृतं
ज्ञानमेतेन
ज्ञानमेतेन
ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा
ज्ञानिनो
ज्ञानिनो
नित्यवैरिणा
नित्यवैरिणा
कामरूपेण कौन्तेय
कामरूपेण
कामरूपेण
कौन्तेय
कौन्तेय
दुष्पुरेणानलेन च
दुष्पूरेणानलेन च
दुष्पूरेणानलेन च
इन्द्रियाणि मनोबुद्धिर्
इन्द्रियाणि
मनो
मनोबुद्धिः
बुद्धिर्
अस्यादिष्टानुमुच्यते
अस्यादिष्टादुमुच्यते
अस्यादिष्टानमुच्यते
एतैर्विमोहयत्येष
एतैर्विमोहयत्येष
एष
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम्
ज्ञानमावृत्य
ज्ञानमावृत्य
देहिनम्
देहिनम्
One more. तस्मात् त्वदिन्द्रियाण्याधौ
तस्मात्
तस्मात्त्वमिन्द्रियाणि
त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ
तस्मात्त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ
नियम्य भरतर्षभ
नियम्य
नियम्य
भरतर्षभ
भरतर्षभ
पाप्मानं प्रजहिह्येनं
पाप्मानं
पाप्मानं
प्रजह्येनम्
प्रजह्येनं
ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्
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 Ah, So now it was already mentioned here that Lord had we had discussed briefly about this. The Lord now answers, where did this vasanas come? Which force? What is this force? So at the manifested state, the force is what? Kama esha, krodha esha. Meaning that the force that you can see, that force that has already manifested is what? The desires and anger. So when the desire and anger has already come, then you can see it. huh? But where did it come from? Where is the source of it? What is the what is the guna or the attribute that has given rise to his Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha? So it is Rajo Guna, desire and anger born from Rajo Guna. These are the what is the force? That Arjuna's question was, what is that force? So it is desire and anger. Now, when we understand desire and anger here, it is like, of course, sometimes like we have good desires, and we want to do studies, we want to do meditation, we want to, do prayers to the Lord, ask for Lord's grace. So all this is noble desires driven out of sattvic gunas. And then there are sometimes, what we call as a righteous duty anger, like where Pandavas. So they had like a righteous, like an anger in the righteous way to do good things. So a lot of society sometimes, that's again driven by sattva and rajo, like a combination of both. Now, this Rajoguna that he's talking about is this harmful Rajoguna, the harmful vasanas, that which pulls us down and which keeps us stuck. What are they? They are Mahashano Mahapapma. They are all devouring. Mahashano means like something which consumes us, which devours us all the way. So that those who may remember our the chart, the chart in which the second chapter, where it starts from. What is the starting point of that? Anybody remembers? Huh? What is the first one?
The brooding of the desires.
Brooding on sense object.
Sense
Dhyayato
object.
vishayan pumsa. Sangasteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama. Kamat krodho bijayate. So from desire comes krodha. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Delusion. Sammohat smriti vibramaha. After smriti vibram means loss of memory. What happens after loss of memory? Anybody remembers?
And goes to ruin.
It go buddhi nashaha and it goes to ruin. So here this is the process. So see, sometimes Lord now will not keep every time repeating. So when he says desire and anger are all devouring, meaning we should connect. The processes lead to that. There are processes that are going through that lead to that last point. And all sinful, meaning mahapapma, meaning it is what creates us into entanglement. See, when somebody starts as an initial stage in their thing, let's say some criminal is there, he starts stealing a car or he starts stealing something in a shop. At that time, it is like a small sin. He may get away with it, or even if he gets caught, they may just send him for some time, fine, give him some fine and all that. But then what happens? He starts doing bigger ones and bigger ones until he becomes like a murderer, criminal, a big theft, and all that. And then what happens? His whole life gets ruined, right? There is for a while, we sometimes say, bad people are having good time, but it is not all the time. Every bad person, more or less, in this very lifetime, we see them suffering. Whether it is Hitler or whether it is, some criminal. Ultimately, some stage or the other, their whole life is ruined. So this is that all sinful. But where did it start from? It is that small initial stage when they didn't catch that. That what Bhagavan says, that dhyayato vishayan pumsa, that brooding over objects. And then you get attached to that. Then the desire has come. Then the anger has come when it is not fulfilled. When it is fulfilled, you get more desire. So this is a cycle, that keeps going. And the Paramahansa Yogananda, a lot of he writes about it. He says, desires ever fed, never satisfied. Desire never fed, ever satisfied. This is a quote he gives. Desire which is ever fed, it will never be completely satisfied. But desires that you never feed, meaning in the beginning you don't get caught up in that, then you are content as you are. So these are the forces. So the Rajoguna. So the Rajoguna, if it is associating with the sattva, then what happens? We will do the way of the scriptures. We will do the way that we will do life as a service. Our life will become serviceful for us, for everyone around us. That is the way that the Lord is trying to tell us to go towards. But the Rajoguna that is associated with tamas, with self-centeredness, that is the cause of much evil. And if we associate with that, what happens? We will keep going down until that buddhinasha pranashyati, that person's loss of intellect, wisdom, and he is completely destroyed. It will take us down. So those who don't have control over that initial phase, who don't recognize that initial phase, so that will, continue. That is the how the association, what we associate with. So this is where all of us as sadhakas, we have to be careful whom we choose to be with, what we choose to associate with, and the effect it has on us. Instead of like following the way, even if you have to be with people of rajas and tamas, you have to be the influencer. Hmm? So not, you shouldn't follow the crowd. That is the what I was saying. The default mode of samsara is what my friends are doing, I will also do. Huh? But as a sadhaka, once we come on the spiritual path, we should be the one who influence others. Our sattva guna should influence even those who are down. Ideally, we associate with people who are sattvic. But if that's not possible, we should be the one who influence on others, our sattva guna. So they also become sattvic in their life. So this is the purport. Now he gives illustrations. What are the illustrations? Dhume navrito vahnir. So there is a fire which is enveloped by smoke. Sometimes you see, right? If there are forest fires, you don't really see the fire, you just see the smoke many times. Then another example is, Yatha darshe malenacha. There is a mirror. That mirror is covered by dust. Sometimes even if you see fog, like some cold places, like in the mountains area and all that, when the car shields, they're covered by that fog, and you can't see that glass at all in there. And the third example is an embryo is enclosed within a womb. Yatholbe navruto garbha. Huh? So now he's talking about these examples. There are two components in this. What is this? There is wisdom. Wisdom is the example that is he's talking of being covered. Avrata. And what is the thing that covers it? The vasanas. Huh? That all our vasanas, our negative knowledge, our wrong knowledge. See, that is in the form of desire and anger, it is covering this knowledge. Huh? So vasanas are covering the knowledge. So this is the fundamental teachings of Vedanta, that you don't have to do a lot of things to become that knowledge. That Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam is your nature. That Jnanam knowledge is in you. But what has happened? That knowledge has been covered, Avrita. Huh? So your knowledge, your wisdom, your true self, your true nature has been covered by wrong knowledge, by these vasanas and these karmas that you have caught yourself in. So this is what is making you go towards the samsara's default mode rather than the sadhana's choice mode. Huh? So this is what is the whole process of sadhana from that Vedanta perspective. You are not creating a new knowledge, you're not creating a new you. You are uncovering that pure being in yourself, which is covered by this. So now the covering is at the three layers here. At the layer of that fire, that that smoke covering that fire, you can still see the fire it is not that badly covered. So this is what happens, we have to identify what level, at which stage is my covering. Hmm? But some stages what happens, that mirror is covered by dust, you can't see the mirror at all. So, when we are caught up with some repeated habits, we're not even aware that we have these habits many times. Like some things we keep doing, and then every day we keep kind of going through the challenges of that. We don't even know this is there, this is being covered. And then there is the embryo, there is a child, that unborn child, which is covered in the womb. The womb, it is still in that womb. It is probably kicking and all that, but it hasn't seen the daylight. It hasn't come out and seen that. So that is some person who is very much tamasic. So we can see in our society, some people, they are just set in their ways, that negative ways, that self-centered ways. They don't even realize it. So much tamas is there. So this is the complete, what we call like an unconscious kind of living, where we don't even have. So these three stages, we ourselves can be in that. Like sometimes, morning we wake up, we are so dull, and especially, sometimes you take medication. You don't feel like you have any of that knowledge, you have any of that sankalpa, any of that intentions. We ourselves go through that. And sometimes in the morning we realize, oh, okay, I need to be doing some sadhana, something, or I'm caught up in my habit of doing certain things, but I need to do my japa, I need to do my sadhana, need to do this. So good intentions are coming. And then during the day, what happens again, we get caught up, and then like that mirror is there, but the dust is there. The situations we are reacting, and then again, that knowledge is missing. We lose touch with that knowledge. So this is, that conscience. We are no longer listening to that conscience. We go based on what we want to do, and this we are back to our samsaric way, our default mode. We are driven by our vasanas. We are driven by our habits. We don't have any kind of a regard even for anything at that point. So these are stages, and see, this is the downfall of everybody who has especially caught up in a lot of criminal acts. Somewhere they started off like in India, especially, you see, lot of people taking bribes and all that, officials of high ranking. So where did it start from? The first time they took bribe, they thought, okay, there's a small thing. It's harmless. I'm doing some work for somebody. I take a little money. Then second time, it became a little bit habit. Then slowly it became until, you see sometimes very big cases where people are caught up in that. So it all gets started at a small level. At that stage, the fire is still there. It is just covered in smoke. Huh? But slowly, slowly, we get caught in that. Huh? There is a famous Christian writer, um C.S. Lewis, his name. So he writes a very beautiful thing where he talks about there is a, like there are these Satan devils, many of them working for devils. So those devils' job is what? They have to tempt the humans. That is their job. They have to somehow tempt all the humans to the downfall. So there is a expert. There is an expert trainer, and there is a young devil. He's new on the job, so he's training this new devil how to tempt the humans. Huh? So he tells him, so this young guy is very very eager. He wants to immediately, like if somebody is trying to do a diet, and you come to that person with a very like a, what do you call, a double chocolate cake or something, and that person will say no, because he's in a diet, but so this what do you call, expert or this experienced devil is teaching that young devil how to tempt. He says you should not tempt right away like that. It should be slow, slippery, right downwards. Meaning it has to be a gentle thing first, and then it becomes slower, and the person starts going down. So that is how temptations work. It is not like right away big, right? It starts at a slow, gentle touch. The words are beautiful. The way he uses this, it should be a slow, slippery, gentle going downhill, and then the person goes all the way down, down, down. So this is a path. The knowledge is gets covered. Our true knowledge is there, and then it starts, getting covered, and we get entangled in this mesh. And what happens? See, this is the two stages of that. And this is the next thing we'll say. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nitya vairena. So what is this covering? That is of the wisdom, this desire. Kama rupena kaunteya. So this desire or this vasanas is covering that wisdom, and it is an eternal enemy. Nitya vairena. It is not like a today, like many of us now, maybe some of you, you may be thinking, okay, this new year I will have one last, my last whatever drink or indulgence or whatever, and from next year, it will. But there is never a last thing. This is the moment you say this is the last thing, that is kind of a almost ensuring that, why? Because this is a nitya vairi, this is an eternal enemy, that kind of vasanas, that the more we feed it, the more it grows. How dushpurena na nalena cha. It is anale, it is that fire is unsatiable, unquenchable fire. It is not like, one time I do it and then after this I'm free. No, once more you feed it, that the fuel is harder. So every step, we have to stop at this moment. It is not like the next moment, because it is a nitya vairi. It is always an enemy to us. So, avrutam jnanena, what is it? Knowledge is being there. What is this knowledge? This knowledge is the cause for our wisdom. So see, this is another path. Sometimes people come, like, there was a person I knew for many years. He had some habit, and he was he was still interested in regular studies. See, the benefit of regular studies, what we are trying to do is that it is consistently giving us that knowledge. So it is consistently making that effort to uncover that wisdom within us. This is different than one seminar you go and then you come back, or one thing you do somewhere, or one YouTube you see, you get inspired and you're done. No, that is not enough. See, this is why, like those of you who are attending the classes regularly, this is a consistent way of awakening that knowledge, uncovering that knowledge within us. And this is the age-old traditional way. Regular Shravanam, regular Mananam. This constant thing we keep doing. Then what happens? That we are closer and closer to the knowledge that the vasana starts dropping away. See, this is the two ways. One is you try to overcome the bad habit by replacing with good habit. So that is what all the other paths are doing. The karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. Those are what they are doing. Every negative rajasic, tamasic tendency, you're replacing it with a sattvic guna. Now, jnana marga, jnana, what is knowledge doing? Knowledge is actually not necessarily beating away the darkness. It is trying to bring in that light. So where there is light, the darkness will go away, whether it's been 1 day or 1,000 years. So this is the method, in the more you focus on knowledge, then the slow, and not just knowledge, you have to substantiate with sadhana also, by manana, by other practices. But as long as you're consistently seeking the knowledge, you still have a very good chance to overcome all the vasanas that cloud that knowledge. So now this is what example I was giving. Some sadhaka, if he or she still has some habit, as long as I consistently seeking that wisdom, then what happens? That slowly they will start questioning, they will start awakening, and that force of that vasanas will start reducing, because the awareness is coming. Once that awareness is coming, then this is where there's a beautiful Bhashya, Shankaracharya says that, see here, he says, knowledge is avrita, covered by this Nitya Vairina, Jnanina. For the wise person knows, even earlier, I am being induced by this into evil. And he always feels distressed. A wise person, meaning somebody who is consistently seeking knowledge, who is doing Shravana Manana regularly. Therefore, it is a constant enemy of the wise, but not of the fool. What is the difference with the fool? For the fool looks upon desire as a friend, so long as hankering lasts. So this is the fundamental difference. You see, for the fool looks upon desire as a friend. A wise person doesn't look upon it as a friend. He knows, he realizes this is my enemy. This is not helpful for my knowledge. And then for a fool, when the sorrow comes as a consequence, he realizes, I have been driven into sorrow because of longings, but not earlier. Therefore, it is a constant enemy of the wise alone. So this is what the process of knowledge is doing. It is making us become aware that this unsatiable fire, which we are feeding, that we can. And it is not just, like here, what we call about vasanas, or it is more like the jnana. It is not just about how we are feeding some habit or something. It is the whole samsara. We are feeding that samsara by giving into this default mode. So this is that that constantly going with that flow, the default mode. Whoever influences me, I get influenced by that person. Like if that person wants to go to a some place, they will, I will go with him. Wherever she wants go. Why? Because I want to make them happy. No. A sadhaka knows that this is, I choose not to go there. I choose not to partake of that. So that is the fundamental, choice, even in our samsara, that each person starts to make. Now, so there was one more point which is actually very nicely said by Ramanujacharya's. So he says, actually it's for the next shloka. He says, where are they saying? Or maybe we will first look at the next shloka. Where do these stay? Where do all this? Where is the residing place of this? Indriyani mano buddhir adhisthana muchyate. Ether vimoha yatyesha jnanamavrita dehinam. So this vasanas, these desires, this ignorance, where is it residing? So it starts from the senses, then it comes to the mind, it comes to the intellect, and then it dilutes that person to act accordingly. So this is what Shankaracharya, Ramanacharya says. So these senses, mind, and intellect, they have been reduced to the position of servants. Meaning they are the ones who should be making the choice whether I choose these objects, I choose to go with this or not, but they become servants through attachment to them. Then the desire dilutes that person to get caught up in the Prakriti by covering the knowledge of one's own being. So that the knowledge of one's own soul, that pure nature, gets caught up by that. So these are the stages, the starting with the shloka 38. It is we are now we have been given the stages how the how our pure nature. So our pure nature, as I was mentioning, in the Upanishad, it is mentioned. What is a pure nature? It is called as the Satyam. Satyam means that truth, that the truth is that reality, that ultimate reality. When we say our prayers, sometimes we say, right, Asatoma Sadgamaya. So that ultimate truth that we want to realize, that is the nature of our being, Satyam. Then Jnanam. Jnanam means our true nature is wisdom, is knowledge. It is that indwelling truth, indwelling knowledge of who we are or what the whole Prakriti is. Anantam. Anantam, we sometimes say eternal, but it also means our nature is blissful, meaning we will ever blissful nature. We don't need something else to make us happy. We don't need somebody else to fulfill us. This is the true nature of our being. But when we forget this, what happens? We become people dependent, sense dependent, situation dependent, because all this then have to fulfill us. So the consistently focusing and developing this knowledge is by how, not that I have to, of course we do studies and we contemplate and all that, but the whole process is that this knowledge is inherent within us. It is a part of our being, and we are trying to uncover that. And why is this challenge to uncover it? Because we have chosen the default mode of how we should exist. What has happened? Why has this default mode come? Because we have started getting entangled with all these objects and this experiences in the world, that bhoktrutva, which we keep talking about, that sense of ever having that experience. One experience I need to realize my jnanam, one experience I need to realize my anantam or that anandam, one experience I need to discover that truth, that reality. So all these are the wrong notions, that takes us to the bhoktrutva. So again, coming back now, the when we look at it, what is the choice I mentioned? That sadhana. That sadhana is what based on taking the sankalpas, like as all of us look at taking New Year resolutions or any resolutions. What are the two factors involved in that? That all our stages, days, aspects of our life, we try to bring in that sense of shama and dama. That ability to say no, ability to choose, rather than allowing the samsara to choose for us. So basically what happens with this, we are trying to uncover that wisdom to help us work in the mind and senses and the intellect also. And this is the process especially of shama, that intellect and the mind choosing to restrain when it has to restrain. And the dhamma is that if you cannot restrain, then you should put away those objects, is to stay away from that object. See, this is where, sadhakas sometimes, many times we always encourage in our ashrams everywhere. Every day we should have some period of maintaining maunam. huh. What happens, we are constantly, especially if you're with families, if you're with people and all that, if you're constantly talking, constantly reacting, constantly on your WhatsApp, your social media and all that, then you are again going back to that samsaric mode. So that maunam is a mean to restrain yourself at least 1 or 2 hours in the morning, or 1 or 2 hours at night. We should try to switch off our phones, or even like practice trying to stay in that state of maunam. Morning is ideally a good time. Nowadays, we are doing our manana and all that. So you engage in something more like that. Do something, use that maunam time, do your sadhana, you listen to some talk or some japa and all that. Then the other thing is also, talking about this, our lot of these days, the food and all that, what we eat, what we drink, that each person, of course, has an individual diet, but ideally, a sadhaka, every place, we should try to practice one day where we're doing some fasting or dieting, one day a week. So this is helpful practices where we slowly curb our other habits. See, this is what it is. These are not like, sometimes we don't have to take head on. Like if you have the habit of maybe like watching movies or having some drinks. So these habits directly, you may not be able to attack them. So the power of sadhana is that when you build in certain habits where you are strengthening your wisdom by using the shama and dhamma, then automatically it will spread to other areas where it is harder to tackle, harder to reform. So this is the how the yogic paths are. You work on that sadhana to change that. You do that, what you call like a overall detox, rather than just trying to change one area. So knowledge and sadhana. So these are the two different approaches that it is being discussed here. So now we will leave it at this. Now the next few concluding shlokas. We will conclude in the next class this aspect of karma yoga, and the part of how knowledge and how the intellect, that wisdom, all that will work will be discussed. But more importantly, we have to, these shlokas are a direct way for helpful for us in our sadhana. We have to ask ourselves, in different aspects of our life, what level is the covering of knowledge? At which level is my knowledge, my true knowledge, my what I hear in Shastras, what I am learning, what I'm also intuitively feeling, where is it covered in my life? Where I'm acting out of unconscious, ignorant, and vasana mode? Huh? Where I'm acting on the samsara's default and vasanas mode, and where I'm bringing in my sadhana, knowledge, and sankalpa. So this is something that all of us should try to bring more awareness to. This bringing this awareness is itself that uncovering. So here, the main point is uncovering. This is an important word. It is not like a, uh, you know, new discovery of something which was, or a new creation or a new discovery. It is uncovering what was already there. Okay, any questions, comments people have regarding this? Okay. So the next Tuesday we will conclude and we will do a revision. One thing. Yeah, actually, yeah, that question that yeah, you had asked, huh? Maybe we can look at it, or maybe I'll just go through briefly, huh? So yeah, so just briefly I'll go through it. See, that point you mentioned is very correct, huh? So the correct question was that how does Swadharma, uh, can we say that the spiritual path will liberate us even from Swadharma, huh? Because in the end, Swadharma is related to individuality and vasana. Individual characteristics remain in the liberated one, but the Jivatma is completely free from them, including Swadharma. The liberated person is an embodiment of Dharma itself. The Swadharma does not play a role for this person anymore. So that's a very good question, very good point. Huh? That ultimately the path, the spiritual realization will free us from all dharmas, all Swadharma. Huh? Sarva dharma parityajya mamekam sharanam vrajayate. Say, every swadharma, every duty we have to give up. Ultimately, the realized person has no duties as such. Huh? So this is also the what we talk about the sannyasis. Generally, sannyasis are not bound to do any duties as such. A person who is realized is even higher than just an outer sannyasi. He absolutely has no duties. Now, however, that art is that person will still do duties for the welfare of the world and for also the fulfilling of the prarabdha, whatever prarabdha will be there. But now there is also a catch, and that is why I didn't want to just respond merely there. So the Swadharma is a part of our sadhana in the Bhagavad Gita's Karma Yoga means. So we should be careful that we are not too hasty to give up our Swadharma. So meaning that Swadharma is meant as a means of purification until we come to that stage where we can give up. So that Swadharma itself can undergo refinement. Like earlier, our duty might be that we have to take care of such and such people, or we have to do our job. So as we become spiritual, you can give up some of that. What is essential, you can do. And slowly, when you come to Vanaprastha sannyasi, you're not even bound to take care of your family and others. So there is a refining happening as you come more. And the more you come on sadhana, the more you are serving the community, serving the Lord, doing service. So this is a refinement of the Swadharma where you're doing for the world. So ultimately, all the Swadharma will drop, but we should be careful that because that is the goal, we don't give up so soon. We use it as a sadhana. But that point is very well taken. Realizing what is one's swadharma, there are that manana that was sent. We try to understand our abilities, our inclinations, and of course, what opportunities are there. These questions are there in the previous shloka. Maybe next class we will look at them, like uncovering, because every stage, see, now we are all studying Gita, so your interest is also changed a little bit. So there is not just the same vasanas. Some good vasanas have been ignited, so now there is a little attuning, a little shaping happening. So the opportunities that you seek in the worldly life for carrying out that swadharma will also change a little bit as you move on. Okay. All right. We will leave it like this. Let us say closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
पूर्णस्य
Purnasya
पूर्णमादाय
Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Narayanaya. So those who can